Crunch Time quarterly report here. Today I have friend of the program now, WolfWiseStats, also known as Tony.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so you're kind of turning into a legend in the Twitter. I think a legend. If you're a diehard Timberwolves fan, you have either seen his stats that he's pulled on Twitter or wherever you see stats, or have gone on his website and has seen some stats for looking up anything Timberwolves basketball. He's got it there for you. I'll start by asking, when did you get into the Wolves? How have you been a lifelong fan? When does it kind of start for you as a Timberwolves fan?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that if you're a Wolves fan, you would have seen Wolf-Wise Stats because I have no real perception of if that's true or not. I'm in my own bubble. So thank you. That's nice to hear. But yeah, I've been a Wolves fan my entire life, born and raised in Minnesota, grew up in Apple Valley. Um, and I would watch all 82 games, shooting hoops on my Nerf hoop the entire time. Diehard KG fan. KG raised me.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and then in my professional life, I do data analysis, and so I was really interested in the stats side of Timberwolves and basketball in general, and so I wanted to basically come up with a way to make it easier to find insights into Timberwolves basketball, and so that's kind of the goal with my Twitter account and with the website too.
Yeah. I've stumbled upon your stuff like this season. I'm a little bit. I feel like I'm behind the eight ball on that, but for about a year and a half, I've been doing these quarterly reports. Again, I'm a amateur person as well in this, but you're at a whole different level with that. But I would have to go on NBA.com or Basketball Reference, and for way more time than I care to admit, look up all these stats specifically for the Timberwolves to try to share it with Timberwolves fans in a nice, easy way. And now you have this website, and you do a great job on your social medias of sharing Timberwolves specific things that are that just save the fans some time to go out and look up these things. And I think we're going to go through a lot of like your website and stuff, but if you have not checked it out, please check it out and use it. You can go through. We'll go through all this stuff, but I guess we're to start. My big question for this quarterly report is: are the Wolves still contenders? Before we get into this, where do you kind of stand on that? Did you think they were contenders to begin with, or do you think I'm kind of crazy by saying that?
No, I've always thought that they are contenders. I think as long as we have Ant, we will be contenders to some extent. Um, and I think we've proven that last year. We didn't have a great regular season, but we were able to make it to the conference finals. I think this team has a lot of limitations, but when a lot of it feels mental, and when we lock in the playoffs, I think we can take it to another level still. I still believe that, but yeah, it's been tough lately.
It has been tough. We're recording this right after the Golden State Warriors game, so I would say vibes are at an all-time low this season. But we're going to try to focus on the good and the bad in this quarterly report, because this is really truly the halfway point of the season recap, even though we're a little bit over the halfway point. But the Wolves are currently sitting at the 7 seed, 27-19, 10 games back from the Thunder. From the second spot in the Spurs, we are 4.5 games back. In the months of December, or late December and January, between games 20 and 41, we went 15-6. So we went on a pretty good run there. Some good wins against the Thunder, the Knicks, the Spurs. Some not bad losses against the Nuggets and the Cavs. And then some bad losses like the Nets and the Hawks. The Hawks won. The Hawks are a lot better than the Nets, but I think the vibes were really low in that game. But that led to a little bit of a run afterwards, which is the outside of that 41st game. But since then, we've seen some good, and we've seen some all-time bad this stretch here right after this 41st game. What are some of your thoughts on some of those games that we saw in the 20 through 41st between some of the Thunder, the Knicks, the Spurs, any of those games that kind of stick out to
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I mean, the Thunder, that stood out to me as a game that proved that we can beat the Thunder, and that we are a contender. And even the Spurs game that we lost, we played him really tough, and Ant was able to get his own. He had that amazing fourth quarter, even going up against Wemby, was able to get his shot, which was incredible. One of the best defenders in the league, if not the best. So, I mean, I think during a large part of that stretch, it was pretty positive, and things have just recently taken a turn.
Yeah, gosh, it's you see a lot of good and a lot of bad in that stretch, and now after that, it's you've seen the all time, and like you said earlier, it's a lot of it has to do with just like the energy of the team, and we'll dive into some stats that the stats that are interesting and kind of show different things, but it's really hard to calculate like
Yeah.
energy and vibe, and so
Hmm.
we'll cover all of our bases here and kind of get back to that at the end. I'm going to kind of show just a little preview of the website, and then I'll have you kind of talk about some of the interesting stats that have popped up to you. But again, WolfWiseStats.com. It says beta in the corner, but this is the most complete uh, awesome beta website I've ever seen. And I remember talking to you before this, asking you like, "Hey, would you ever want to do this?" And you're kind of like, "Well, I don't know if it's really ready." I'm like, "I don't know how much more
Yeah.
ready it can get, but obviously, uh, you have a lot of awesome stuff here. Like if you just go to the homepage, you have players, team schedules, lineups, scatter tools. That's we'll get to that in a little bit, but on the left side, you'll see all these different ways in which you can look up Timberwolves stats. So please go check this out after you're done watching this. But we're gonna break down some of those things. One interesting stat I would say. This is right before the Cavs prime game. Uh, we were one of the five teams with both a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, which seems surprising to me. Um, I think when we think of this Wolves team this season, that we are just lacking defensive energy. But to see that means it must be pretty good, right? Top five team.
I mean, I think that means it's really good when Rudy's on the floor. And when he's not, I think we're elite defensively for the most part when
Mhm.
he's on the floor. But lacking that backup center is definitely dragging the team down. And then you got guys like Julius and Ant who are prone to those defensive lapses. They're doing so much on the offensive end, that we do see some lapses there. Um, but yeah, I think that backup center is a big piece to the defensive puzzle that's missing.
So are you a big Rudy fan? This seems like a polarizing question in the Timberwolves community. There's some guys who are really big fans of Rudy. There's some guys who absolutely hate Rudy Gobert. Where do you kind of stand on the Rudy train?
It's polarizing in my mind as well. I think like being a stats guy, no player I think has a bigger gap between the eye test and the stats. Like if you just watch Rudy Gobert as a casual fan, you don't see his entire impact. If you're a really smart NBA player or fan, you might realize his defensive positioning, the way he contests shots. He's not when he closes out, he doesn't get blown by a lot. So there's you can notice it, but the stats, I mean, they just pop for him every single year, year after year. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. Defensive ratings, his defended field goal percentage is always like top 10. The rim protection scores, and just the amount of times that players just choose to not even take a shot in the paint, is something that like no one besides Wemby has. So all that being said, he gets in these matchups in the playoffs where he gets played off the court at times where he can't close games. And I still think it's very dependent on who we play and how he matches up. And that will determine, if we can win with him or not. So I think the limitations, he's such a unique player that in the regular season, he's incredibly impactful and he will always make sure you're in the playoffs, basically. But in the playoffs, yeah, he could get exposed in certain matchups.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with he's the most polarizing, as in stats to eye test. Like I'm a coach. I coach basketball, and I just see like all the little things that he does and impacts both sides of the floor. People are like he's a not a great offensive player. I think he's one of the most underrated offensive players in my mind, just by his. I wish you. I wish there was a way to like show value for ball screens, and part of that is just like a team's efficiency on ball screens, but it's hard to like equate like one player like their I don't know their efficiency at ball screens. I guess there's probably a stat out there, but I I I am interested by stats, but I'm so bad at trying to finding value in that way. But he's incredible screener. He's like you said, always in the right places. An ultimate floor raiser, I think, for this team. But again, playoffs it comes and it always turns into matchups and who you got, and
It's matchups, yeah.
it turns into who do you have more buttons to push than the other team. And we saw that last year when we played the Lakers. We had more buttons to push, and then when we get to the Thunder, we just don't have as many buttons to push. So
Actually, before we move on, I think the free throws are extremely concerning right now.
yeah,
He's at like a career low free throw percentage, and if he does want to play in the playoffs in the fourth quarter,
yeah,
he's got to figure that out. You know, he seemed to have figured it out the last couple of years.
yeah.
Um, but this year I haven't looked recently. I think yeah, he was at his worst year at the free throw line. So that's something to watch, I think.
Yeah, he's had a tough year. I don't know how it's just, for him. It just feels like a confidence thing, because he figured it out there for
Yeah.
like last year. That might have been his best year free throw shooting, maybe the year
Yeah,
before.
I think it was.
Yeah, and it makes a
Off
huge
the
difference.
website.
He gets fouled all the time. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, we should. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's. I'll have you share your screen now, and you can kind of go through different things that
Yeah.
you want to touch on before we go dive too deep into the different sides of the ball.
Starting with Ant here. So we have this player profile card, and that shows you the per 75 stats, so points per 75 possessions. The reason that's per 75 is there's about 75 possessions that a starter will play. So it really helps normalize people that are lower minutes. Um, so you can compare across different minute profiles. Um, so you can see, you know, he's one of the best scorers in the league. And this on the right spider chart is basically just a different way to visualize these stats. Um, so offensively, he's had one of his best years. His true shooting percentage, 85th percentile, 3-point percentage, 41%, 88th percentile. Um, so he's really had an efficient year. Um, and if you look at the trend tab here, you can see over the last 6 years, you can see a steady points per game growth um, going up every single year, and that's true for a lot of his stats as well. If you pull up a good all-in metric that I like to look at is the LeBron. It's an all-in metric. It really accounts for advanced stats offensively and defensively and kind of puts it into one metric. Um, he's had a bit of a drop off this year, but still, you know, one of the best in the league in that front as well. So it's been a good year for him, but I think some of the disconnect, I think, comes from his defensive rating. His on-off defensive rating is 7 points worse when he's on the floor versus when he's off, and that one is tough. I think
Hmm.
that is something that needs to be addressed and um, isn't really talked about a lot. But I think, like I said earlier, in the playoffs, that's easily solvable. Not easily, but I think he does really step up defensively with his just level of focus. And also on ball, he's one of the best on ball defenders when he wants to. Um, so yeah, that's kind of high level. What are you seeing from Ant this year?
I first of all, I absolutely love this trend tab. I,
Yeah,
I've been going through your website quite a bit, and I feel like I had missed. I'm gonna I might have missed this little tab here. There's so many things that I need to
Yeah, I mean,
explore a little bit
honestly,
more.
yeah, it could go into more depth. Like, I'd kind of give a high level and went kind of fast, but yeah, there's a lot there. So we could spend all night
Oh my
going
gosh.
through the ant trends, but yeah,
I
what are you
think
thinking?
I think I'm interested in the defensive stat, and that might be a little bit maybe why the LeBron metric is down a little bit.
Yes,
I feel
for
like his
sure.
his defensive, the thing that's concerning to me, and it's not necessarily like a oh this is a huge problem. It's more like concerning for the team is that he's just kind of off ball is his big problem right now. I think
Yeah,
oftentimes he's
here's
in
his
the
defensive LeBron.
yeah there you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I think off
but
ball he just seems like he's either trying to do too much or he's kind of just like relaxing. Now I remember Dane and Kyle were talking about this in the last episode. Dane Moore, Kyle, how you I don't know why I just first named them, like I know who they are. But they were talking about how it seems like him and Julius kind of have the same problem on the defensive end. It's like when they are locked in, they can guard anybody, like you saw in the Spurs game, um, with Julius locking up Wemby. But I feel like they have to save so much energy in their minds. They probably feel like they have to save a lot of energy, and so they just kind of take possessions off on the defensive end, which leads to some tough stretches where we're just trading baskets and we can't get stops, and that seems to be the problem lately. But yeah, the stats seem to back up that kind of eye test in my mind.
yeah, one play stands out recently against the Bulls when he gave up that corner three to Kobe White with a minute left. We're up four, where yeah, it's just a hair slow to react, and can't do that in the NBA at a high level. Um, and yeah, little things like that add up. And if you have multiple guys in the court that are prone to that, it's going to be tough to be a top 10 defense. I know, like you said, we did jump back into the top 10. Um, but it doesn't feel like it's our identity like it
No,
was in the past. Definitely feels like this team is relying on offense production and Julius just being special offensively, which we know they are, but um, and it'd be nice to put both ends of the floor together.
yeah. We'll dive in a little bit too, like into maybe some of those why things and like the offensive defensive end because I have a couple clips for that. But this is interesting to see this the trend chart for sure to get a glimpse, and it really backs up the kind of the what we're seeing on the court right now with the Wolves. But yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah,
I might spend all day tomorrow
yeah,
looking at this thing.
yeah, yeah. And just to know on the on-off stats too, I think this stat is very controversial in the stat world because there's so many dynamics at play. Like who you're playing, who do you play with usually on the court versus off. So this is by no means like my favorite stat. It just gives some context. And when you see a 7 point differential there defensively, that stands out as like, okay, m- something might be going on there. So just important to kind of get that context.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. It really does help kind of back up what you're kind of seeing on the court right now, especially
And
now.
if we want to just continue with this thread here, I mean, Julius, same thing. We're 11.7 points worse on defense per 100% possessions when he's on the floor versus off. Offensively, we're plus 13. I mean, huge difference. But for him, it's just a tale of two sides of the ball. I mean, yeah, his offense has been incredible this year. I think he's having one of his best offensive years ever, efficiency wise in ISO, picking apart matchups. But defensively, yeah, it's been tough.
From a coaching perspective, and I say this because uh, currently in our season, we're kind of talking about the same thing. We have a young team um, in the team that I coach in high school. Again, high school versus NBA. I'm not trying to compare the two, but it seems like we kind of have a similar issue with we have a very quiet, chill team, and so like from top to bottom, between Edwards all the way down to the very bottom with whoever, like there's not a lot of guys who are like super loud and vocal. I'm thinking of like a Draymond Green, like a Dylan Brooks, who are those like vocal anchors on the court, which help on the defensive end. Even Rudy is our best defensive player. He's not a super vocally loud communicator, and so it seems like with the way we want to play defense and how Finch's and the staff have uh, their philosophy for defending, it requires a lot of communication because you need to do a lot of like off ball switching when the pick and roll, like when the players get to the off of the pick and roll, the help comes over. You need to be able to like X out and switch. This kind of leads to some of the issues that we have, especially when you get to like the kind of the dog days of the season, um, where that communication just kind of disappears, and
Yeah,
they're not allowed to begin with. So
that's a great point. Do you think we had that previously? Now wasn't really that vocal.
no,
What who do you think that was in the past? Kyle Anderson?
Kyle Anderson. That's my
Yeah,
number one person for that. And I feel like Mike is a big vocal, but he's not playing as many minutes, and so he's a you can see really truly when you go to the games you watch him, he's always talking, and it's not like a rah rah like more like Kyle was, but it's more of like I'm putting you guys in the right spots. We need to be in, like, yeah, I don't know. I That was the last time we had like a really great consistent defense was when Kyle Anderson was here,
yeah,
and
yeah,
a lot of it has to do with that vocal part of it, which is something.
yeah. I think Ant definitely has more potential on defense. We've seen the potential. Like it's crazy on ball. He's one of the quickest lateral defenders in the league. Um, but with Julius, I do worry about his foot speed. I think he's much more prone to get blown by. And I don't think even if he's focused, he's ever going to be a plus defender. We saw him do great against Wemby because he was able to leverage his physicality. But I think, again, back to the matchups, if he gets in a tough matchup, I think there's guys that he just can't guard. Whereas with Ant, I feel like it's mostly mental.
Yeah, yeah, gosh, yeah. A lot of the issues that the Wolves are having right now are running into is just mental and effort, and I don't know, I don't know how it doesn't help too that. Or I'm a huge Finch guy, so I love the whole staff, and I feel like they've done an awesome job. It's just our identity, even in their staff. Like Finch is not a huge like I'm not going to light the players up in the middle of the game. It's a we're behind closed doors. I'm gonna light you up, which doesn't sometimes help when you need them to like really change in the on the fly. You know what I mean? Uh, and so it just kind of seems like our mo, and we run into these stretches like this, and then watch we'll get into the playoffs, and we'll end up in the Western Conference Finals again, and we'll be like, oh, do you guys remember when we lost 5 games, 6 games in January and thought the
Yeah,
season was going to end?
I
But
hope
yeah,
so.
I honestly think this like we just need another guy who can just be thrown into the game and bring a little just juice. The offense isn't really the problem. The overall cohesiveness of the from the offensive side of the floor, the defensive side of the floor. If we're not having a good defensive game, then we're just not having a good time on offense. If we're not having a good time on offense, we're not having a good time on defense. It's just like it goes back and forth. That's just my overall vibe. But like again, like we have the stats up here for Conley, and I think he's having. I think he would even say himself a frustrating year. It was good to see
Yeah.
him go to.
And obviously we all love Mike
Oh
Conley,
my gosh,
but
yeah,
it's yeah, something has changed this year. He might have finally hit that wall, or he might turn around. Like, Finch has not lost trust in him
no,
as of yet. Like he's still giving him a chance.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, out of 88 guards, worst field goal percentage, one of the worst effective field goal percentage. Um, his offensive LeBron low, and if you look at his trend, just over his career, you know, you can see he's just struggling in all areas. Let's look at his overall LeBron. So he's been a positive, impactful player every year of his career, basically, except for this year. So I don't know what you do with that. Um, I don't know how long you can stick to him and hope that it turns.
yeah. I think a hard part. I think this is where we puts Finch in. I'm just trying to look in like Finch's perspective. He's like, okay, so I I'm not getting what I need out of Rob. I mean, I feel like that's been pretty proven. Um, Clark gives me something different than Conley, but I don't think his offensive game will affect us positively right now, anyways. But he just does a lot of the little things too. It's really tough. I don't know. It's really tough. I feel like it doesn't help that either that we can't. There's not a single guy on the bench who's having a good time in this stretch, like a good stretch here. And I think it's a
Nas has been playing
besides Nas.
pretty
Sorry,
well.
besides Nas, I always
Yeah.
forget about him in the bench because it just seems like he's like a starter.
He's not even, he shouldn't even be called a bench player. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel bad when I even say like he's the best bench player. It feels like a slur to call him a bench
exactly
player.
yeah. So I always forget about. Obviously, he's carrying. If he doesn't have like tonight, you see with against the Warriors, like he didn't necessarily have a bad game. He just couldn't really get anything going, and
Yeah.
you saw what happened. If he doesn't get anything going, we don't really have any other scoring. Bones, we were pretty high on Bones a little while ago, and he just can't make his shots. A lot, and it's between those three guys, Conley, Clark, and Bones. We need one of them to be able to make outside shots, or at least be
We do.
a
We
threat out
really
there,
do.
or at least
You
be
know,
yeah,
Bones has been a very positive player from the stats
yeah.
perspective. If you look at our, this is another interesting on the team tab here. You can look at the on-off differentials across the entire team, and if you look at the on-off impact net rating wise, let's filter. You can filter your minimum minute threshold. Um, Dante has the biggest uh, net rating differential. So looking at when he's on versus off the court,
Hmm.
um, our net rating is 11 points, almost 12 points better. Bones is second, which is was really surprising to me. But I think that just shows how much we've kind of been lacking that point guard, like true point guard or backup ball handler. So when he's out there, I think that helps. Rudy will always be pretty high on that list too.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is just to say that Bones statistically, he has very positive impact, and so that's where I question why does Finch feel the need to continue playing Conley if Bones can take all those minutes? I don't know. I would feel comfortable giving Bones those minutes. Um,
Yeah.
Defensively, I guess, is the question too. He's another probably negative defender. And so how many of those guys can you have? But Conley's not bringing a lot on that end either. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
It is tough. And I think for a long I think one thing with Finch, um, and I think this is what when everyone gets really frustrated with him, is he's got a extremely long leash for the guys that he trusts and a very short leash for the young players or players that are like kind of new and trying to fit in. Um, it creates kind of like a with the fans. They're like, well, why is this player still playing even though they? I think the things that
Yeah.
Conley's kind of like Rudy in a way where it's like you don't see the things that he does on the court that affect it, but also if he's not making shots or then it makes it
Yeah.
kind of like a mute point if like for lack of a better term I guess like
Yeah.
he just does it doesn't even if he's doing those like things like coach on the court type of stuff it doesn't lead to us being in a spot to win some games, especially in this stretch that we're seeing right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Just looking at his 3-point percentage,
God, yeah.
career progression. I mean, he was a great 3-point
Yeah.
shooter most of his career, 40 plus percent. I mean,
correct me if I'm wrong. Did he
yeah, I
start
mean,
the
I think
year?
it mostly comes down to that.
Didn't he start the year off pretty hot? I can't remember like off the top of my head. Like, or
I
maybe
think he
I'm
did.
okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that wrist injury just kind of really.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
It's around that time in the 23, 24 where he had that wrist injury.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever recovered from that really yet, but I don't know. That's interesting. I would hate to be the person to have to try to make that decision, and then I trust that.
No, I hear you with the fans. It's hard. It's hard when you're not in the room with them.
Yeah.
You can't just be pulling guys out and taking away their minutes. I mean, that's you have to have some consistency.
Yeah.
And so, especially with a guy like Conley, he's at an age where if you pull him and you say you're like done, it's going to be hard to bring him back in. I feel like.
Yeah.
Um, I, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough
So
tough
I do
spot.
give Finch some. Yeah.
That's the hardest part of coaching, I'm sure of it, and especially in the NBA where it's like there's so many eyes on you to and all of us are like, well, this we're looking at stats right here, like how is this person having more minutes? Is yeah, it puts you in a tough spot, but then you can see if the Wolves crank out like 4 wins in a row and Conley has a good shooting time, it's like, okay, well,
Right.
you know, I don't know. It goes up and down. I just trust that the higher ups will, if there's a decision that needs to be made, they'll make the right one. We've seen them make some tough decisions and have to move on from guys that were loved in certain ways. But I love Conley. I love this whole team. It's so the emotional side of it. That part makes it, the human side of it always makes it tough. And I'm not a huge hit the panic button either. I have like my panic button is locked in a closet somewhere. It'll take a lot for me to hit it. Even today, I was like, yeah, this is an ugly loss against the Warriors. But there's just a lot going on that I just feel like I always trusted this team can work through it because I've seen it.
Me too. Yeah.
But should we?
Whereas like
Yeah.
with the Vikings,
Yeah.
I hit the panic button pretty early on. You could tell it's
Yeah.
just not going anywhere. Whereas this team, you still see, I mean, you see what Ant can do, and how can you not be optimistic with our ceiling?
Yeah.
So
we're still in the mix. We can win 4 in a row and still be in that 4 seed, 3 seed, which is kind of where we are expected to be.
Playing for now. I need for my mental health.
Yeah. So we dived into a couple offensive players. Do we want to touch on Jaden at all? I don't know if have we talked about him really? Let's go to Jaden just to.
Yeah, I mean Jaden. I mean, just here I popped up the trend and the 3-point story. I think he's huge this year, 41.7% from deep, and that was a huge problem I think for him the last couple of years. Just being able to knock down that corner three, knock down open shots, and Finch got criticized, I think rightfully so, not giving him enough offensive leeway and just kind of sticking him in the corner. And we've seen like his 5 to 10 foot range. We can pull up the shot chart here too. You can see, some hot spots here. Like with his length and height, when he gets in these areas with a guy that is his height or smaller, it's just easy. It's so easy for him, and he makes it look so easy. But yeah, I mean, if he's being able to get to his spots here and also hit corner threes, I mean, he's such an offensive weapon that I feel like it's one that we haven't tapped into fully. His thing is, and I don't know if it's Finch or if it's him, whose fault or a bit of both. What is it going to take to get Jaden to have a bigger role offensively night in, night out? Is it his lack of aggression and just deferring, just based off his personality and deferring to Ant and Randall? Is it Finch not kind of forcing the issue more? But I think there's more juice to be squeezed with the offensive potential of Jaden.
I think based on just like listening to like press conferences and stuff, I feel like it has definitely been a point to we need a third fiddle. And Jaden obviously he's shown that this year that he could be that guy. Especially when Ant was out, he stepped up into that role. It's about just like, can we maintain that? He's always been a big confidence guy. Where I said this when I was with on Andrew Dukowitz's pod, Missing Wolves. He's like, I think he's a perfectionist. I feel like if like a shot doesn't go down, it's like he kind of not spirals, but it really affects him more than it affects most guys. I think he that makes him scared to maybe scare is not the right word, but makes him a little hesitant to shoot a ton of shots, even though you have Ant who's pumping him up probably every single day, every single game. All these guys want him to shoot more and shoot more. You're seeing that go in the right direction, but you still see the old Jaden kind of come back every now and then, where it's just like he just It seems like he gets really
Yeah,
down on himself.
and you can tell when it kind of comes out with that stupid foul
Yeah,
where he'll just be frustrated, he miss a shot, come down the other end, and just be like, screw it, and just like push the guy or
yeah,
something, you know. So there's some things there, but yeah, I mean, I think he has the potential to just be such a good offensive weapon. And you know, he has had his best offensive year. If you look at another tab we have here is the records, and this is like personal records, and you can see how they're tracking against their personal
hmm.
best. And so he's projected to shatter his like previous best points record. Um, and really in every category, assists, he's going to beat his previous record there. Steals, not steals, but even blocks, he's just about there. So he's having a great year all around, no question. 3 pointers made. So he's having a career year. Like
Yeah,
that's not a question. It's how can we take it to the next level?
yeah,
Because he's shown that he can be that third option, but it needs to be night in, night out more. Um, so, but
yeah.
he's I'm a huge Jaden fan.
A huge Jaden fan. Gosh, you really have everything in this website, man. This is impressive stuff.
Got a
Gosh,
lot of time.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Again, another thing that I've been looking at this website for the last several months, and I just found that. I'm glad to have
And
you on
that's what
here
I
to show
need.
this.
I need a tutorial. I know. I need a tutorial. I need to record my own video and
You
put it on
should.
because it's like there's too much. I should have just released it sooner
No, this is
so people could slowly get into it. But
Oh, this is
yeah,
great.
I built this because I wanted to track um, how players are doing
Yeah.
versus their previous best, and is specifically for Ant. Um, because he's setting franchise records. So you can see here the
Hmm.
franchise record too. So he missed a bunch of games this year, what, like 7 maybe? And he's still like right at the franchise record. He's going to be bumping up against it for points, which he set last year. Um, but he might break that franchise record for points in a season,
Gosh,
which is crazy.
that is crazy with it, especially wow. Yeah, he's. I'm just like thinking of both those guys. Going back to Jaden a little bit, like
Yeah.
you feel like his year, like you're like, oh, we want more and more, but then you look at that trend graph, and he's just skyrocketing this year. Compared, I guess not
Mhm.
skyrocketing, but a big jump from 12 points to where he's at right now, like 16.1. Uh,
Mhm.
it's the volume. Like if he increases that, if we just get him again, I don't know if it's Finch because we've actually made it a point to transition, push him more in transition. He's great in transition. He either gets to the hoop right away, or he's gonna get his own rebound and put it back up. And he's been a great passer too in transition. I feel like that's this stretch here that's been kind of rough. Like he's had like a rough stretch, and the team kind of follows him secretly. But anyways, like
Mhm.
a couple years ago, I think it was at that 20, was it 22, 23 or 23, 24 season where if he could just make some outside shots, that's what we just kept saying. And now
Yeah.
what is he, like one of
Yeah.
the best shooters in the league
Mhm.
percentage wise?
Yeah. No, it was crazy. It was to a point where I was like, he couldn't make a shot. It was tough for him to be out there, even though he was so good defensively. It's turned around. So, and I think that comes from being able to take shots all around the court and just not being stuck in the corner, taking a few corner threes a game, not being in rhythm. I think expanding his role offensively has just improved every
Yeah.
aspect. And yeah, he's got some good inside passes too, where he gets in the paint and he'll dump it off to Rudy. Sometimes Rudy doesn't catch it, but you know, he's shown the ability, yeah, to play make too. So
Yeah.
yeah, impressive stuff.
He's a big bright spot. If Wolves fans
Mhm.
are feeling down in the dumps right now, just go look at this chart right here. Just go look at this graph. Um, Jaden's having a great year. Um,
Mhm.
All right, now we're going to break down some team specific stats here, looking over at the team page, both on the offensive defensive side of the ball, maybe some other stats as well, and kind of see what the Wolves got cooking here at the halfway point. So yeah, what are some stats that stick out to you, Tony, to start?
Yeah, I think what stands out to me is that if you look overall,
we look like a pretty good team. Offensively, even defensively, we're um, 10th in defensive rating, 7th in offensive rating, one of the best shooting teams, 5th in true shooting percentage. So we do a lot of things well, and you look at this, and it seems like a team that should be performing at a high level, um, but we're not. And so we can kind of get a little bit into why um, in a bit. But also, if you just filter down to the last 5 games, you can see how things have slipped dramatically on both ends of the floor. Um, and really, there's just not a lot of positives to take away from this current stretch we're in. Um, so yeah, and I think a big part of that is potentially some of these hustle stats. So we also look at hustle stats here. Um, you can see that the Wolves just aren't a team that really thrives in any of these stats. We're not top 15 in any of these hustle categories, which is kind of telling as a whole. So we're 16th in contested shots, 16th in loose balls, 20th in deflections. So um, yeah, what do you think that matches the eye test when you watch this team?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest problems. Like when these are all just like effort, like the hustle stats, effort, obviously effort stats, and that's one of the biggest complaints that the players have of themselves too. Maybe not a complaint is the right word, but the biggest critique that they have of themselves is that they just need to bring constant effort. And I don't think they have that consistently. And you look at some of the teams that rank at the top of a lot of those categories, and okay, you see OKC in a lot of those, and it's just no
Right.
surprise that they're uh, one of the best teams, or the best team in the league, I guess.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think they're first in contested shots, I believe. So yeah, I think that is, yeah, it's no surprise,
yeah, and
and you can feel it when you're playing
you,
against them too.
yeah, it's suffocating. And I think one thing that it's like a coach, like as a coach, like that's always the stat. Those are the stats I like look at right away. It's like, okay, what do we look like contesting shots? Like, are we contesting more shots than the other team? Are we giving up open shots? And I feel like, especially in this last little stretch here, it feels like we're giving up more open shots than we are contesting them, and that's never a good feeling. That usually leads to, especially in the NBA, guys knock down open shots. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's something that I would say would be really concerning if it wasn't something that I feel like happens every year in the middle of the season for the Wolves. ever since ever since
Yeah.
the last like 5 seasons, it just feels like that's the case. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. I mean, it almost gives you a little bit of hope knowing that of all things, this is something that you could correct in the playoffs, or you should be able to when the motivation is higher. And you know, I think the sense of urgency is there, and so I would expect this to go up. But if we want to be in a good position and have a home series, I mean, this kind of thing has to turn around at some point here.
yeah. I feel like they always just turn it up when they need to. That's kind of the like it'd be interesting to see. I know this would be really hard to do track on, especially on the website, but like team versus different teams. I don't even know if the NBA
Oh,
does
for
that.
sure.
It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
what are our contested
I
shots
think they do
versus?
have.
Oh, really?
I mean, they might have like an above 500 versus below 500 teams.
Oh, there you go.
I've definitely pulled something like that for my X um, account. I pulled like how we do against the top
Sure.
teams in the league versus the bottom, and I think that was last year, 2 years ago, where we had this issue as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that is part of the story too. When we play OKC, we play up to their level. Um, But when we play these bad teams lately, we've been more lackadaisical. It started out strong beginning of the year. I think we had a really strong record against below 500 teams. But um, yeah, in the dog days in January, it's cold outside. It seems like that's starting to slip.
Yeah, yeah. That feels like honestly, it feels like it watching the games too. So
We could do play types. We could look at
play
that.
type. Yeah, let's take a look at play
Um,
types.
yeah, I think what jumps out here is we are a really good shooting team, and so our spot up um, points per possession is going to be high. We're number 2 in the league at 1.12 points per possession, and we should be able to get this it does feel like we do get this a lot too, just because Ant has such high gravity, even Julius, and we have a lot of good spot up shooters, Nas and Dante. So that is definitely a strong point in our game. Um, Isolation, we also do a good amount compared to other teams. With Ant and Julius, I think you're always going to have that be a big part of your offense. Um, it's not as easy of a bucket as you can see in the points per possession as some of these other play types, but it's something that you can get whenever you want, and so that's important to have in your toolkit. Anything else stand out here to you?
I handoffs. I handoffs in the pick and roll. Like I know it doesn't go hand in hand with the pick and roll ball handling, but um, Ant and Rudy got something special with that handoff and that pick and roll actions that they like to run. Stop the key. It's been the last year and a half. It's been borderline. It makes it Ant unguardable at times because you can't really get around Rudy. He's such a good screener. I think one thing that's interesting is like this. Obviously, with the isolation, like looking at that, I feel like as of late, I remember earlier in the year we were a little bit higher up in that isolation for like points per possession. Is that what it is? Points per possession?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then at 12, I feel like a lot of that has to do with maybe sending to Randall and Ant more common. So does it have to be directly from scoring directly from the play? It can't be like an assist out to a spot up, for example.
No, that would be a spot up then. Yep.
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 Okay. So like
So,
maybe that's what we see from maybe that change there.
and yeah, that brings up a point I was thinking about earlier where it feels like Randall, when he has the right matchup, he's an automatic bucket, but he also likes to attack really difficult matchups.
Yeah.
He'll go at guys like Giannis or some other like really good defenders, and you're like, okay, maybe this isn't the time to do an isolation,
Yeah.
And so I feel like he could be smarter with when to attack
I would agree.
in the
Yeah.
ISO. But he's actually a pretty good playmaker out of those isolation actions. I know then it would turn into a spot up, but he is good at finding the open guy a lot of the time. So
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I think just going way back here, I don't know why this popped in my head. And this is I'm not trying to throw a lot of shade at Carl. I love Carl, but I think that's what we needed from Carl is to be able to like his biggest flaw was he could never pass out of double teams. Like he just like could not operate. If someone sent a double, it was like game over, and he couldn't operate out of the post. So it like really limited him. And I feel like Julius is just an incredible playmaker out of that. You see, like with Ant's starting to figure some of that stuff out too, but a lot of his passes don't lead to direct assists, and you see those numbers. But, anyways, yeah, I would say those are probably the two things, and I think we'll highlight. I'll highlight a little bit of that in some clips here.
Now, what's kind of fun now is Rudy is you can see Berenger. Berenger obviously came into this team with the skill to be able to do some of the same stuff that Rudy is doing, but you can see that what's kind of fun is he's learning some techniques here from Rudy and applying it into the game when he's in, and that's a really good sign. You can almost see some very young Rudy Gobert play when he comes into the game now. It's really exciting to see. You see Anthony Edwards. He's just taking a leap with making this decision here. Another drop coverage. If you're gonna do a drop coverage against Ant, you're picking your poison here. And Wemby eventually comes up here and kind of decides, all right, I gotta take away Ant because Fox is kind of in a tough spot where he has to go over. So Ant dribbles him out, brings him out, which is really good, really smart by Ant. A lot of people are not really noticing this part of his game. Obviously, it's taking a leap because you don't see the numbers, but that one dribble, the step back, this is his kill zone right here. Wemby has to commit, and so just a nice little pocket pass to Berenger, and he's able to dunk it home. That's what you just like to see from your leader on your team, is this ability right here to make the passes like that. I just want to highlight really quickly that the effects of the Wolves in isolation, Randall and Ant being able to both operate out of this kind of mid-post area has really caused some problems. It's led the team to be one of the best spot-up shooting teams in the league, and we don't really score a lot off of these isolations necessarily, but it's a pick your poison situation. The Spurs chose, okay, we're going to double Randall whenever he's in the post situation. So we're sending 2. That means we have to split on the backside. So one guy here, one guy here. We got to take the top away. Now, the math doesn't really add up, right? If you can provide some sort of action on the backside, a simple down screen like Clark's doing right here to free up a shooter and Dante is going to open something up because they can't guard all 4 guys. It might not lead to a direct assist, but if you can get the ball into the middle of the floor in this situation, it's game over for the defense. And Randall does a great job of passing out of a double team, and Ant's doing a way better job of that this year too as well. Like you just saw in the last clip. Boom. Clark knows exactly where Jaden's going to be. Jaden, great job being in the right spot. Another example here of Rudy's pick and roll ability. Now, we talked about technique. We talked about footwork. This is a good example. A rule of thumb, if defender's going to go under a screen, a good way to attack it is doing a simple rescreen. Rudy's set up to set a screen like this. He's going to then, or Durant's going to go underneath. Okay, we're going to drop coverage. Okay, that's fine. But I'm going to make it rough, and I'm going to set a screen on this side. This creates a nice avenue for a 2-on-1 because the drop defender has to now make a choice, and it puts the point defender having to chase no matter what. The point of going under is so you don't have to chase it off the ball screen. If you rescreen it, you have that leverage, and so as you play it out here under the screen, we're going to rescreen it. Now we got a 2-on-1. Got to make a decision. Rudy's just so good at that, and you're going to see Berenjay do a much better job of that throughout the year, too. Ant's been a demon in this situation. He's been doing a great job this year. He's just going to see the floor well, see what's happening over here. Guys are going to be moving around. Guys are going to be looking to find their spot. Dante's in a great spot. Nas in a great spot. Randall's going to trying to find an area where he can kind of be an impact so that they have to make a decision. Am I going to go double or... And if your guy leaves, you cut to that middle of that floor, and good things are going to happen. So if they don't double, it's one-on-one. Ant's got a good matchup. He's going to knock it down. He's gotten so good at that mid-range turnaround jumper, and that's just tough to guard. Here's just a quick example of Ant just being able to find Rudy. What a decision on the screen. What a great decision by Ant. That pass is incredible. Now, a lot of we kind of talked about this already. A lot of Ant's assists are not really assists; they're more of a hockey assist. And don't sleep on Rudy's passing ability. He's a sneaky good passer here as he makes a good ball fake, finds the open cutting Randall for 2. But this is a classic hockey assist that doesn't show up in the box score.
Transition, ranked 16th there. I think has been a weakness, kind of on and off, and that might just go back to. Part of it could be coaching, like when to crash the boards, versus when to just get back. But part of it is also just being aware of last man back and making sure you're not giving up easy buckets. Other than that, like our isolation defense is really good. I think that matches the eye test too. We got guys like Jaden, Jalen Clark that can really, and even Ant when he wants to, can really defend in isolation. But we struggle on the pick and roll, which I found surprising. I know you might have brought up some clips that you've seen that might help explain that. But to me, that was a bit surprising. And then post-ups as well. I think Rudy, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but it seems like when he gets in matchups with some really good, skilled offensive bigs that are big and strong, he isn't like the best one-on-one defender. I don't think that's what makes him defensive player of the year. So I think it's all the other things he does in drop coverage and pick and rolls and knowing where to be, cleaning up people that get blown by, etc. So yeah, anything jump out to you?
Your transition defense starts with good offense. If you're taking bad shots and turning the ball over, which we sometimes are very suscept to, if that's a word.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're very keen. Like we turn the ball over a lot, and so that leads to a lot of transition. So
It's true.
that's where you see a lot of those points. But you're spot on with the fact that sometimes we just look lost. That goes back to kind of a lot of our biggest issues kind of go on both sides of the ball. Is that energy and effort at times. Communication's a big part of it, and that kind of plays a big part in a pick and roll game. You have to be a really strong communicating team, and a strong effort team to constant effort to really work through those screens all the time because all of our guys are skilled defensively, I think, and we have one of the best defenders of all time in Rudy.
Yeah.
But if you're not if you're not having a good energy on that end of the ball, you can't really work through a lot of things together. You got to be cohesive on defense, and so all this kind of matches up with what we're seeing kind of on the floor. But there's definitely a good stretch that we've had in those 20 through 41 games where we were doing a lot of those things, and so that gives me a little bit of hope. But you're definitely seeing the last couple handful of games that's gone down. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Now, we talk a lot about the pick and roll defense depth and how the Wolves have adjusted over the last couple months of kind of where that pickup point is going to be and where Rudy's supposed to pick up a little bit higher. Earlier in the season, he was a little bit too low, and I know they adjusted this because you can kind of see that he has an emphasis on kind of picking him up at that free throw line, which gives our guys going over the screens enough time to try to get back in the situation. It also makes it easier for him to be able to kind of direct the player where he wants to. In this situation, Nas kind of in a tough spot. We have a flat ball screen coming by Şengün, which pretty much is a recipe for a downhill attack because you can't really work it unless you kind of get in an ice look, but that's a story for a different day. Anyways, good screen here. Şengün creates this 2-on-1, which is a tough spot for Rudy. Now, if Rudy was down a little bit further, it makes it really hard to guard because he could look like he's going to pull up here. Rudy has to pop up. Şengün's going to drop down. It's game over. But being in kind of a good spot here, we can have some help defenders help out a little bit. We can kind of play both at the same time a little bit longer so Nas can hustle back into the play. And that's the goal here, is picking up a little bit more aggressively so that you don't have to play one-on-one off of this pick and roll or one-on-two. And Rudy does a great job of that. Be able to get the block, great pass, looking up the floor. This highlights another thing the Wolves have done a great job of this year, and that's just playing with active hands. They made it a point to be more active, and this is kind of a great example here. Jaden, very active hands, getting a tip. We've created a lot of turnovers this year, turns the other way to the points. And we see a lot of clips of us finishing in transition. When we play with active hands and we create turnovers, good things happen. One of my favorite moments of the year so far, and I think a lot of fans' favorite moments, is when Julius was able to lock up Wemby down the stretch here. Just look at this effort on the ball. Perfect physical defense in this fourth quarter to just get under Wemby's skin and make him frustrated, create turnovers, create some momentum at home. That's what we needed. That's what we needed out of him, and he's able to do it. Obviously, it's tough to do it for a whole game. It's tough to do it for a whole 82-game season, but we know that if we need it, that we can get it from him. That's good to see. Dante's also been an absolute demon with some steals. He's always been a really good off-ball defender, able to get a lot of steals because he's just so good at reading these passing lanes, and he's really aggressive going for those. But it's been contagious as he's created a lot of turnovers, which leads to a lot of points, and we're doing a great job of scoring in transition. It's been a huge impact on our offense this year, helping us become a top 10 offense. Also, can't have a Wolves clip here without having some Berenger and just get really excited about it. This is about this pick and roll defense. Now, we just talked about how the Wolves have adjusted their pickup point. They want to be more up on the point, up on the ball, forcing, disrupting the offense, making it so their offense is operating further out. to try to limit some threes. They want to keep everything kind of contained inside the arc, but this requires a lot of communication. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of trust. That stuff is building throughout the season, so you're going to see some tough moments. But it's fun to see Berenger kind of do the same stuff that you saw Rudy do for so many years, and it's being able to play here and drop coverage, and being able to play both the ball and both the lob guy. You'll see some examples right here of that. So he's going to be in drop, being able to play 2, finally picks up the ball. It leads to turnover, stepped out of bounds. Like, right here is perfect. He takes one little step, but even with that one step over here, he can still backpedal and be able to turn around and maybe block a shot if he needs to. Just think back to how Gafford hurt us when Luka was on the team in the playoffs, and how Rudy just is not athletic enough to do this still. He's smart enough to do it, but he's not athletic enough to do it still to this day. And Berenger is able to do that. You'll see it in a couple clips. Now, here's an example of exactly what I was just talking about here, where that we're in drop coverage. We're actually going to be pretty high, which is nice. Berenger could do that because he's just younger. You know, he's springy. He's able to be able to really truly contest both either a layup or a lob to the rim. And you're going to see that right here. Bones does a great job getting over, staying attached. Berenger helps enough, can get back to Gafford. Again, this is very difficult to do. There's not a lot of defenders that are able to, be able to guard both of those and time it right, and 2, have the athletic ability to be able to actually contest it and not foul.
I think, okay, so looking at the 4 factors here, again, this is another thing that I, in the past, have really dove into, because I feel like a lot of these stats definitely show like where your team ranks in the league. And that doesn't necessarily show like the hustle stats for me. It doesn't show. The hustle stats for me shows like effort, and usually like good effort leads to like winning basketball. These more show like kind of where you land in the pecking order, in my opinion. And so seeing a lot of green is good in these 4 factors. The things that kind of are like interesting to me and match the eye test is free throw rate. I feel like our free throw rate, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this might be one of our better free throw rate seasons, because I remember Ant had a huge problem with being able to get to the line, and he's getting
calls or drawing whatever it was. Yeah, definitely.
And Randall's pretty good at that. Rudy picks up a lot of fouls. And so
yes, yeah,
that's improved.
He picks up. I mean, he gets fouled a lot and doesn't get called too.
That's very true.
Yeah, he'll make sure you know if he gets touched in the head.
Oh yeah.
But
he hates that.
He does get. I mean, he gets fouled a lot because, you know, especially with the way he's shooting at the line, they'll send him there.
But the thing that's kind of interesting is like our opponent free throw rate, and that for me matches the eye test. I feel like sometimes we're out of position, especially as of late, or maybe just like a little late on closeouts, and that usually leads to fouls. And this is one of my things that really there's not much that frustrates me about the Timberwolves team, like this iteration of the Timberwolves team, because I just love these players so much, and I'm a big Finch guy, and I just have like a lot of respect for them. But the one thing that drives me nuts is their how they handle officiating. And I feel like we're kind of on a list right now of like, for the refs, like, all right, these guys are going to get after you. I feel like top to bottom, we are constantly getting upset with the officials. We don't handle officiating well, but we're an emotional team.
No, there was a couple times in that Golden State game, the first one, where there was a missed call, and almost like half of the defensive possession, Ant was talking to the ref and like asking where's the call, and you know, Nas is guilty of it. There's a lot of people that are. It's not just Ant, and I agree, it's contagious, I think. And yeah, it's a vibe killer at times too, and you know, it just leads to bad results on the other end too. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of sticks out to me is I feel like earlier in the year we were at opponent turnover percentage. I actually wrote it down the first time I did a coaching up, and it was at like 15.5, and that was a big reason why we were doing so well to start the season on the defense, or had a nice stretch in the middle of the season where we were like almost top 5 defensive team. Was we were just so active with our hands. That's something that I think we just need to get back to, but I don't know. Another thing that I guess assist to turnover ratio is always one that I look at. It's interesting that our assist percentage, for how much spot up shooting we do, and how effective we are there, that our assist percentage is like very average. I think that might be because our turnover, we have such a high turnover percentage, probably.
I think it's also the isolation. Potentially, we do a lot of isolation.
Yeah, I wonder.
I think there's a lot of teams that have a lot lower isolation rate there.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like we can get an open shot whenever we want to, with the guys, with the talent we have on our team. So, yeah, I think that could get higher.
Sure. Do we want to talk about any lineups, like best lineups, worst lineups?
So in our lineup tab, we have a few different things here. We'll talk about the main lineups tab first, which you can look at either just the Wolves or you can filter to all teams.
Oh, wow.
But if you just look at the Wolves, you can filter between 5-man, 3-man, 2-man. When you're looking at 5-man, there's not that many lineups, especially if you look at, if you sort by most played, our starting lineup has 450 minutes played, which is like by far the most in the NBA. And so we just don't have a lot of other lineups that have played enough minutes to even analyze the data for the most part. But it's still interesting if you just look at these, let's say these top 5 most played lineups, and what works and what doesn't. I think that second one here is interesting, especially lately. Like, I'm very surprised to see Conley in one of these lineups that is, plus 20 net rating. And I feel like I'd have to look at the data, but I feel like this is earlier in the season that a lot of these minutes came from.
Yeah, probably.
But that does stand out to me as something that is surprising. So let's go to best rating again. And so you can set the minutes threshold too. So you get rid of some of the junk lineups that only have, 5-10 minutes. Over here, we're set to 45 minutes. So the best lineups, when I look at this, what stands out is Devo is in every one of the top 5 best lineups, which that definitely, I think, does match the eye test. I think he's been so underrated and so valuable to our team this year. And he's taken such a leap versus his first year here. I feel like he was, last year, he was kind of like taken off guard. I think he wanted to be in New York initially.
Yeah.
And I just felt like his attitude, or maybe his heart, like, wasn't totally here. And now it feels like that's completely flipped. So I think that's a huge bright spot.
Yeah.
Also a lot of Nas here, which is good to see.
Yeah, that is good. Especially like coming off the bench, and we need like we really truly need a fourth guy that's constant, and I feel like he's been pretty constant. Had kind of obviously a tough start this season. We had a lot of stuff going on, so I'm not gonna ding him too much for that. But he's really turned it on lately, and it's keeping us afloat. But yeah, it's interesting. It all matches the eye test, which makes sense. But what about like what's Wowie? I was looking at that. It's out.
Yeah, some other fun things to do. So this is with or without you. And so it looks at how the team performs when different lineup combinations are out there. So right now, if you look at Randall and DiVincenzo, it will show you, I think the easiest way to look at it is probably the Venn diagram. So when Devo's on the court and Randall's off, we're plus 9.9 points per 100 possession in 364 minutes. When Randall's on the floor without Devo, we're minus 1.2. Together, we're plus 7.3. So it kind of just shows how the team performs with different on and off. So taking into account Devo on the floor and Randall off. Whereas if you just look at the total lineups, you don't see, all that context.
Sure.
So you can even add 3 players if you want to look at like Randall, DiVincenzo, and I think Gobert. I think these guys have really good synergy, if you will. Like they play really well together. Yeah. So you can see here, Gobert without these two struggles. But, when all 3 are on the court at the same time, we're plus 9.1. So I think this is a good example of players that play well and add value to each other when they're
That's
out
so
there.
cool.
So that's another one. And then, so you can play with that. And then also player Wowie. This is player stats. So this is not team stats like net rating, but player stats specifically,
Oh.
with or without. So like when Ant is on the court with Randall, these are his per 75 possession stats, and then without, and they'll show you which one is better or higher. So as you would expect, without Randall, Ant has a higher usage percentage, right? When Randall's not on the court, Ant is going to get the ball and have a lot higher usage percentage. He will also get, has more assists and more free throws attempted. So he's just basically getting more active, taking up more of that playmaking role when Randall's off the floor. And Randall, definitely you see that. I mean, plus 5.5% usage when Ant is off the floor. He kind of takes over that main hub of the offense role. So yeah, that's what that the player Wowie is.
Gosh, that is interesting. I'm gonna definitely be looking at that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Messing around. I'm gonna go through every single guy probably.
Right. I mean, there's so many combinations.
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah. Yeah. So the scatter tool, this is a pretty popular one on X. I think it catches people's attention. It's an easy way to get a look at how our players compare to the rest of the league. The default one I set is clutch because I like to show off Anthony Edwards in the clutch. So I set the default when you load it to clutch true shooting percentage versus clutch points. And so you can see here on the x-axis we have clutch points per game. So per game is, or no, this is actually total clutch points. Sorry. So total clutch points in the season, and then true shooting percentage in the clutch. And Anthony Edwards is shooting 74.8 true shooting percentage in the clutch. He was at like 85%, which shatters every record ever. If that were to continue, it's dropped down to 74%, which is still, if he keeps that up at the end of the year, I think that would be the highest ever too. Out of any player that has any amount of volume, like not counting players that have 5 shots or centers that just have a couple putbacks or something. So yeah, very impressive season from him in clutch, and this kind of helps show that. And yeah, you can play around. This is similar to the NBA's the different filters that they have and groupings. So you can choose just more general stats. If you go to general, traditional, here you'll find all of the traditional stats that you would expect to see. So you have assists, blocks, all the traditional stats. So if you wanted to look at something like, let's say, 3-point percentage versus 3 points attempted. So that'd be field goal 3 attempted. And I suggest adding this filter to the top player because if you don't limit it to like 50 players, it's cluttered. So what this is, you can limit the top 50 players based on, and in this case, I would do based on probably 3-point attempts. And so then it'll filter to those 50 players. So you can see,
so cool.
Devo attempts a lot of 3-pointers, and he's good. I mean, I think with even look at Steph Curry, like when you shoot that high volume, you're not going to be in the top percentile in 3-point percentage. The volume's too high. So hovering around 38% with that volume is still good and impressive, and validates him taking that high level of shots. So yeah, you can play around with this, and really, there's a lot of stuff you can find here that I haven't found because they're just endless. There was a gravity stat. Gravity's a new stat the NBA has.
Okay.
That's kind of interesting. if we look at gravity, what I was trying to do is look at like gravity and assist percent. So what I want to look at here is players that have high gravity. How does that translate to assists? You would expect the higher the gravity, the more assists you'd have. So let's look at the top 50 players in gravity. So Ant has one of the highest gravity in the league, behind guys like Luca, Durant, and Steph. Steph has the highest,
Sure.
which of course, yeah, I think that matches the eye test. But he's below average amongst this cohort in assists per game. So this, I think, could be an area. I think, like you mentioned, his assists often come off of like a hockey assist, one or two passes down the line, because he'll get doubled kind of high up the court, and so he'll then start the rotation, and then might end up in an open shot, but it's not directly from Ant. So that plays a factor into it. But I do still think there's more juice to be squeezed out of his playmaking and just the number of assists he's getting per game. I think with his gravity, could be a bit higher.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just thinking that too. Is like watching that. Like it does make sense. I think he's in a great spot there. I don't think a lot of these guys get doubled like he does. I even think just SGA doesn't get really doubled because, yeah, I don't know. There's not really a guy like Edwards in the league at that top level like that where he's just unguardable in 3 different levels. So this is interesting. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
What do you think of his? I don't know if we want to keep this, but do you think there's still potential? Like the assist thing, is that something you think is just more schematic because he gets doubled, or do you think you'd like to see him start averaging 5-6 assists per game? Do you think there's something that's missing there with him?
Ooh, no, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he just gets doubled, so it's like a scheme thing. And so every team does pretty much the same thing on Ant when he gets going, is they just double him and then they put like a guy splitting 2 on the backside, and he's getting really good at just like, all right, this guy's coming, I'm like doing that like pickup thing that he does, that slow pickup, and he like has it right here and he just fires it over, and whoever catches the ball is never going to be the person who shoots it, because it's usually that guy is like, he's told you split and we're going to scramble to the other guy, so that it always turns into that hockey assist.
Interesting.
Or a catch and attack and find somebody else or finish. And that might not lead to a direct assist, but yeah, I don't know. Compared to the other guys,
so maybe
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, SGA is a lot of pick and roll. Like he comes off the pick and rolls and he gets to his spot, and then it turns into like, if guys are just like sitting in the spot, he just kicks it out to them. That's usually how they kind of roll. He's just really good at making like that read and decision, and all Thunder guys are all good at knowing what to do.
I think Luca's
the same way.
He's just an elite. He's the same way, but he's just also an elite passer, like almost Jokic level vision.
Yeah. Because he's making the right plays. It'd be bad if he had like a bad shooting percentage, and he was taking a bunch of tough shots. You're like, do you want him to pass more? That's a whole different conversation. But
no, I think your point is good, and that's. Yeah, I'm curious from a coaching perspective what you're seeing there, because sometimes the stats don't tell the whole story. So I think that is good context. So another interesting part of the app, I think, is the website is the compare tab, and so here you can just compare 2 players. You can select all the stats that you want to use, and what's nice is you can just select the stats. It will automatically update. So if we wanted to bring in some of these more all-in impact metrics, like LeBron, we can bring that in, and it will automatically update the graphic, and then you can easily share it to social. But I think this is kind of interesting during the trade deadline. If we look at some guys that we're interested in, I think this kind of helps me because I don't have time to watch every game across the NBA. So guys like Kobe White, Io. Who else have we been linked with? Anyone else come to mind?
Was there a Jones?
Any guard?
Maybe it was
a Trey Jones.
Trey Jones, just because of maybe his game against us recently.
Yeah. Trey Jones. So yeah, this kind of is a good way to break down how they're performing this year. Um, so yeah, it shows the comparison between all three there, and then it also has um, the percentile radar chart, so it shows where they're at versus the rest of the league in different categories.
Hmm.
So like if you hover over shooting, you can see Trey Jones is in the 90th percentile in true shooting percentage, so he's a very good shooter. Um, Compared to the other two, Kobe is weird, honestly, this year because he's coming off injury. So I don't really take a lot of stock, honestly, in his stats this year. He doesn't have a lot of minutes, and he is coming off an injury, and so his shooting stats are way down
Sure.
this year. But I don't think that's going to hold. So you have to obviously bring in some context there as well. Um, but then you can also see their career progression trends as well. So to that point, you can see Kobe White's had a bit of a drop off this year. Trey Jones has been getting consistently better shooter throughout his career. Um, I also like to look at those advanced metrics, like I said, like LeBron, that tries to bring in every part of the game together into one metric. So that again would say Trey Jones is probably the highest value there. So
Wow.
just a fun tool to kind of compare guys we might be targeting, or even guys on our team versus other players. If you want to compare Ant with Shea, um,
I'm gonna be doing
probably
this.
don't
I'm gonna do
recommend
this.
that.
I'm gonna do this all day.
But yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh, that is incredible
yeah,
stuff, man. We didn't even touch on like the your in-game stats. We talked about
I
it a
know.
little
Yeah.
bit, but like that was a really cool part too. Is like seeing how it's going, and
So
getting those live
this,
stats.
yeah, maybe I can touch on this a bit. The live game part of it was honestly one of the first reasons I built the app, is because I couldn't stand using the other apps that were for all sports, all teams. You have to go to your team. It takes time to load, and there's ads everywhere, and then you finally get to the box score, and it's just line after line of like data. And I just wanted a better way where I just open this up, and eventually we'll have an app for this, so you don't have to use a website.
Hmm.
But yeah, you just open it up, and then it shows you the quarter by quarter score, and it also has game flow if you want to see like how we're trending. Um, and then yeah, a quick view of just how our players performing. So when it turns green, that's a good game. So he's got 12 rebounds. Gobert already has 12 rebounds. That's a strong game from him in rebounding, and you can see their shooting percentages there as well to see who's having a good shooting night. So just like and their plus minus too. So it's just a really easy way to keep track. Like if I'm not at home watching the game, if I'm out, if I'm busy, this is what I'll pull up to just get a quick download of like what's working, what's going on.
I love it.
Also as the team breakdown too. So yeah.
Is that little camera potentially? Is that a clips thing?
So this was a clips thing. So there's a T Wolves clips on Twitter.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
I clicked on one of
he's
those. I
amazing,
love that. I love
and
him.
I've never met him, never worked with him, but if possible, down the road, I would like to just integrate his clips here.
Oh my
And I had
gosh.
something working where I could do that, but it's pretty difficult technically to get. Um, but the idea would be, yeah, you get the clips up here and it goes through his highlights for that game. So down the
That'd be
road,
a
I hope
dream for me.
to hope to have that. Yeah, yeah,
This
that's a good
is
idea.
this is such a you're on the. I don't know if there's any other sports like team that does this, and I'm
I
seriously
don't
not.
think
I've
so.
not seen
I don't
one.
know. Yeah,
And this is what people want and need. Because
yeah, I wanted it, so I just built it. You know, it's fun. It's a fun hobby for me, and I really, yeah, I hope other people like to use it as well. You know, it's great to see that the first person that found our site loves it. I think you're one of the first people to find it.
seriously, oh my gosh.
Not, I mean, not,
Like, what-
I don't
yeah.
know. First person that's come to me being like, "Hey, I found your site," because we haven't promoted it yet. So
Sure. Oh my gosh.
once we start promoting it, hopefully, yeah, we'll get to see more people on Twitter posting about it and what they've seen. So
So, big picture though, overall, what would be like our biggest thing that we need to change if, as a Wolves fan?
As a fan, yeah, I think defensive identity, which the players have taught it too. It feels like it's gone. It's no longer our identity. It feels like it just comes and goes. Hopefully, it's there and given night, but it's not what we are known for, what we're focused on. And Andy's taken such a leap offensively, and I think he's the best scorer in the world. Um, but I don't know. I feel like it's changed our identity a bit. So
Yeah.
we got to get back to being a defensive first team.
Yeah, because it'll lead. I think it leads to the good offense, especially with how we're playing defense this year. Do you still think we're contenders?
Yeah, I do. I think the trade deadline is going to be big. I don't know if we're going to add a piece. If we do, I think it would be a backup center or a backup guard, maybe starting. But I don't think you're taking that starting spot from Dante. I think he's been so good this year. I think it's more we need to improve our bench. So if we can add a piece there, I think we can make a run. We've proven we can beat any team in the league. It's about putting together a string of games. And in the playoffs, it's matchups. The West is also even 1 through 7, 8. I mean, maybe even 1 through 8. That if like last year, if you get some good matchups, you can do some damage. So I still think there's time to right the ship.
Awesome. I agree.
What do you think?
I think as long as we have Anthony Edwards on our team, I'm always going to consider ourselves contenders unless something crazy happens at this point. But I still believe in this team. I think we're still in a good spot, but we just a rough stretch here. But I don't know. Any last thoughts? I don't want to keep you too much longer here. I feel like I could yap all night and go over everything on this website that you have here. But any things you want to plug or anything that you want to talk about in general?
I'll just check out WolfWiseStats on X. That's where we post. Hopefully someday we'll be active on other social platforms too, but it's a one-man show for the most part right now, so I'm doing my best. But yeah, check us out there. And then the website, WolfWiseStats.com. Technically in beta right now, so there might be a few bugs, but check it out and hope you share any insights you find.
Yeah. I always try to share some stuff. You can actually easily share things like from the in-game, which is one of my favorite tools you have here, where you can easily share with your friends or share on social media, just quick box scores from the players from that game and team stats as well, which is pretty cool. But Tony, like incredible stuff. I think you're going to be not because of this podcast here, because I'm but you're gonna be probably doing some more talking with some more important people along the lines. But I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, please go check out WolfWise Statistics and check out the socials. Well, I'm gonna put them in the description, and yeah, go check that out. Go make some scatter plots. Go check out what if you think Anthony Edwards can get to the all-time leading scorer. Are we able to do that?
Yep, we can do it.
Yeah, let's go. All right. Well, hey, thanks for stopping on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man.
All right.